Morning guys, we are working on the international cab here today. We did some welding yesterday, about 7 hours worth to be exact, fabricating patches and welding and this and that nonsense. So here's kind of a look at what we got. This was the less bad of both sides. I had this patch already in, I just had to weld it if you watched the last video. Little word of advice. When you're grinding these, I use one of these kind. Safety glasses and a respirator because these dust a lot. And you take it and you kind of go across your welds like that just to knock them down, okay? And then I can see I have one pinhole in this. I need to do a little quick tack over, maybe a couple over here. But I've also taken one of these. This is a Harbor Freight. I've had this thing 6 or 7, 8 years. It's still going strong, and I use it a lot. So that's got 36 on it on a roll-lock disc, and it's pretty chewed up. But just to put some grinder marks in it for the fiberglass, so I will go ahead and put a few buzzes in that before I wipe this with some short strand fiberglass filler. The other spot I have was this right here. I don't like putting square patches in, but that's kind of what we ended up with. It's a real short area there. I'm not worried about a stress crack coming out the sides here. So that one's all ground down and got plenty of scratch in it. Now let's look at this other one. Originally I used a shrinker stretcher to make a patch to go in here, and it had the flare in it like I showed before. Let's see if I still have one of these. It's made like this. So your bottom piece goes in like this and the top piece goes in like this, because this is actually, if you see the seam here where the rocker and the cab side go together. I struggled getting it in there. The top went in great, okay? The bottom did not go in so great. I lap welded it on the bottom and butt welded it on the top. What happened, I guess, when I cut this loose, this cab side sucked in. So the top one looked okay, but the bottom one, whoop, here we go, bottom one sucked way out. So I ended up getting medieval with it. I was tired of fighting it. I beat it in a little bit so that I could get my contour, and because this got sucked in so far, I had to use my stud puller, and I pulled it out the best I could, but it just wouldn't stay. So it's not oil cannon, so we're just going to leave it. It is the back of the cab, blah blah blah, and I wiped it all the way across. This is long strand fiberglass filler because I probably had, yeah, I would say 1/4 inch here that I had to build up, which I hate to do, but if you're going to do it with long strand fiberglass. Don't do it with Bondo. Spot like this probably isn't going to see any problems because there's inner structure in here that all of this touches where it makes it really rigid, so it's not really going to move. But if you swat it with something, you don't want regular filler in there because it's going to break out a lot easier than this will. So plus this is waterproof. So the first step is to get that waterproof filler on. So we'll go mix up some Duraglass for this other side here after I get that pinhole welded up, and I'll bring you back. One quick thing I want to show you guys, and I've showed this in videos a long time ago for doing welding, but this is 023 gauge wire. It's very skinny, 023 size liner in here. Okay, 023 contact tip. Now, one thing that I do, first thing in the morning when I get to welding, you can probably hear the gas come out. I purge that line to make sure it's got shielding gas in it. And with the thin gauge sheet metal, if you take your cutoffs, a pair of dikes or MIG pliers, I don't know if you can see that, but cut about a 30-degree angle on that, or some sort of angle that'll get you a faster start when you're starting to weld, and it starts really clean. So just a tip for you. All right, we're gonna get some filler mixed up. I got about that much, and I'm gonna skim that whole patch over, focusing on pressing this into the welds. So this is Duraglass brand. You can use Everglass or whatever. The other side, as I spoke of before, has a long strand fiberglass filler in it, and that was just because I needed to build something up. This does not need to be built up. This, we're just waterproofing it. We'll get it leveled up with the 3M Platinum Plus type filler, you know, Rage Gold, whatever, but I'm using Platinum Plus right now. I like it. And I don't know why, but they gave me blue cream hardener with my Duraglass, and Duraglass is like blue-green, so it's hard to see. So I had to dig up, I found some red. It's always nice to have a new can of this. If it sits on the shelf more than a couple of months, it starts to dry up. You're going to get pinholes in this anyway, so whatever way you can use to mix it and get it mixed up, because it's not as easy to mix. Also, make sure you get all the unmixed filler off of your spreader, or throw your spreader out and grab a clean one before you start spreading. However you like to do it. When I do glazing putty, I usually mix with something else and then grab a clean spreader. So really pressing it in those welds. Another thing you can do is sandblast in those welds, especially if you can't get them ground pretty flat where your grinder will put marks in them. Sandblasting them works really good for getting in there. Typically I'm not too bad at getting them down to where I can grind them. So I will go ahead and coat this whole repair with filler. Looks like I got carried away and mixed way too much, but that's all right. I'm not going to get a lot of work time with this either. A lot of times I'll just slop this in here once I get it nice and tight into the scratches and all that. So there you go. And I will probably go around and put some over the welds in the bottom, but I can't get you down there to show you, so I'm going to cut you off and bring you back when it's time to start sanding this. One thing I want to talk about with you guys about sanding fiberglass. First of all, dust mask. This is a respirator, and I keep my old ones laying around after their time has expired and use them for dust masks. I want to get one of those ones with the big round cartridges on them, but I haven't done that yet. So we got fiberglass filler in here, and we'll keep checking it to see when it's starting to kick off. And when it's just starting to set up pretty decent, I take a block with some 40 grit. This is stick it paper. If the repair is small, I don't always do this, but this I'd say is a medium-sized repair, and the other side was probably a large repair. I'll take this and I'll start cutting it down. I mean, people use cheese graters and stuff like that, or line files or whatever after it sets all the way up. I don't do that. I just start knocking it down just to get a profile to it, and then I'll let it go ahead and finish curing. That way, once I get my long block out, or however I'm going to sand this, whether it's start sanding it with a DA with some 80 grit or whatever, that I can go ahead and do that and not be clogging up the paper. because when filler dries, except for a real good premium lightweight filler, and even some of those will clog your paper on the first pass till you get the gumminess off the top of it. I mean, that's just the nature of the way a filler cures. So what you can do is keep some old sandpaper laying around and put it on your block, and once that sets up a little bit, go ahead and give it a quick sand off, and then you can keep a wire brush. This one's brass, but this paper will clog up a lot. You just sit there and knock the clog out of the paper with that, and then you can just keep knocking it down. This is just to get a profile. 40 grit is not for any type of finished work. In my opinion, I just block it down. Sometimes I'll let it set up if it's something really contoured and take a grinder disc, but always wearing the mask. The other good thing about sanding this when it's just starting to kick off and starting to do its thing, to where it'll let you it'll ball up a little bit and all that, but it doesn't make any dust because it's so heavy it just falls right to the floor. So there's a tip for you, and I'm going to go ahead and wait for this to get ready. It's not quite there yet. It's actually very soft. I got some boogers hanging off the bottom there that once that gets to that, I call it the green state, okay, that will break right off. And then I can go ahead and get my profile and try and contain those 40 grit scratches to just inside this filler. I really don't want any 40 grit scratches way out and never land here, because you'll be chasing those forever. It is the back of a truck cab that gets something up against it you won't see, but that's just a tip for you. So I'm going to go ahead and sand that off camera because it's going to take a while for that to kick. It's not that hot in here. So that's just a quick one for you. Put that one in your archives. All right, end of the week. There you go. Wood furnace is going, and that's where we're at. This thing is all prepped in 320. All the mud work is done, I believe. I have not prepped my jams yet, but ended up with a patch in that corner. There's a steel patch there. There's a steel patch on the right. One on top, one on the corner. And trust me, there's another one underneath there. But that's it. A couple of pinholes along the front of this rocker here. So I smeared the whole rocker with Duraglass just in case, since we're not changing it. We'll see what happens. What do we got here? It looked like we had a bad feather edge. I haven't prepped these jams. I got the rust and crap out of them. I still gotta wipe that hinge area all down. I've wiped them all once, but I don't trust it. I've got to mask off all these stickers. There's 4 of them. And then for my prime job, I'm going to prime pretty much all the exterior, but I'm not going to prime all the way in this door jamb and fight having to scuff these door jambs again. So I will probably break it off on an edge here and then wrap it around into here, prime all of this, and then come back out to an edge. Because pretty much this thing needs an overall prime. I mean, it is just hammered. But I don't want to have to fight scuffing into all of these window openings and door jambs and this gutter. Yeah, have fun with that. So that's where it's at. I got a little bit more, like I said, more work to do in this jamb. But I pulled there's the cowl panel right there. I pulled that off because it had rust and stuff in here. And truthfully, when the hood's closed, you won't see any of this, and I'm not required to do it, but you guys know me, I can't leave well enough alone. So I'm going to get the rust out of here, and this area right here was full of leaves and twigs, and it's even got a little rust down there from water getting in it, but I'll probably just rust treat this with some phosphoric acid after I wire wheel it out. I don't care what it looks like, it's inside the hood jamb. I just don't want it to rust further. Here's another fun area. Go inside all of those indentations. Not only that, You have a lip here. There's a groove here. It's raised up and rolls into here. And everywhere like where the cab corner meets the corner right there, that all needs to be cleaned out. It's got rust coming through from the backside, but there's not a damn thing I can do about it other than to wipe it with some phosphoric acid and Scotch-Brite it back out and prime it. Throw some seam sealer in the gap if I wanted to. But if you guys look at this side, my steel panel that I made with the shrinker stretcher, the top one was real nice, the bottom one wasn't as good, so I opted to mud over the whole thing. You can see we don't have very much mud on there. Will that focus, or is it going to be a pain in the ass? There's about I would say a 1/16 of an inch, and I'm hitting steel in the corner here, and I didn't hit any steel out here, but I probably have 1/8 of an inch of mud in this corner. It's pretty heavy. Maybe even more toward the bottom. There might be a 1/4 inch at the bottom, but most of it is fiberglass. So that's where it's at for now. It's pretty much prime time. We'll find out if I missed a bunch of pinholes or not and go back and wipe them with some putty. But this thing looks like somebody chased it with a ball peen hammer. I mean, it looked like they set it on something, because there's a doing here and here. This side not as bad. They must have got smart by the time they got to this side. It came from a junkyard, is where the cab was bought from, so it's hard to say what they did. Still got a little guide coat on the roof. I got to go back over it real quick and get down in this. Yeah, have fun sanding that with a Scotch pad. But that's about it for now. I have some other video that you guys will see that's I'll just put together with this. So that's where I'm going to shut you guys down. Tomorrow we'll be finished prepping and prime the cab day. So maybe I'll be able to make you a vid. See you guys then.